toughest strongman in history, right here.
It's not a beauty contest. This is strongman. Have to be alive if you can't do Deadlift. And away we go!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our podcast tonight. Giants Live is at the Royal Albert Hall tomorrow evening, and it's the Strongman Classic. And we have the Strongman Classic champion next to me here in Mr. Evan Singleton, and of course, podium finisher at World's Strongest Man. We have a man who's won one Giants Live podium. I got confused earlier and thought he'd won the Strongman Classic before, but he hasn't. No. Coming third last year, having led for some time. Of course, he is World's Strongest Man winner as well, amongst numerous other major titles, Mitchell Hooper. And down the end there, my partner in rhyme, Mr. D. Sadler. And Daz, big night tonight, but coming tomorrow night, but it's these two guys, two of the hot favourites?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these guys are off great performances from World's Strongest Man. Both top five. In fact, we've got all the top five here. And yeah, you can't go too far away from sort of these two and Tom being on the podium, really. Interesting events. We've got some people that can steal points on events. You've got 𝐷𝐿𝐴 in the Conan's wheel. He's also very good at max axle. I would say the man sat next to him is probably the favourite in the max axle at the minute after his performance at World's Strongest Man. And Evan always shows up and gives it 100% and doesn't really drop out the top three in many events, really, which also wins you events. So, yeah, it's going to be good. I think Matt Ragg's going to steal a lot of points on the deadlift, and he's very good at Conan's wheel as well. You've got Eddie Williams, who I think is going to be great on wrecking ball hold. He's so thick, and he's got such a good grip. I think it's going to be an interesting one, and I think that if anybody messes up, they won't be winning it. I think it's whoever puts in that performance. Everyone's so good, I don't think we'll make mistakes.
Okay, well let's hear what the guys have to say. I mean, let me just say this. The reason we're getting the date shift here is this might not go out tonight, Friday night. It is Saturday night at 5 p.m. UK time. Officialstrongman.com is where you can watch it live around the world, unless you have a ticket, of course, but it is sold out, so I'm afraid you can't get tickets on the door. Guys, just picking up on what Daz had to say there, let's start with Mitchell. Mitchell, this isn't a contest you've won before, but you've been dominated it in many ways, especially last year. But it was impressive. You didn't. You were in the lead after three events by some margin, and then you started to lose some points on Viking, and then Stones was a bit of a slip. In many ways, it was a wake-up call, wasn't it, for making sure you never had a mistake again in Stones, which you seem to have corrected since then.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't think you can dominate a show and lose the show. So I did well in a few events, but that was off of my World's Strongest Man campaign, where straight after there was a lot of PR tour stuff, and I think back to something like the Viking press, and we had that at Worlds this year, and I hit 15 reps, the same as I hit at Royal Albert Hall, and I stopped with probably 5 in the tank. I really wasn't struggling. So, but when it comes to the Stones, I finally got a setup where I've been training Stones with 𝐷𝐴, and it's very consistent for me. When I practice Stones and I train Stones, as fun as that sounds, as one of the top guys in the world, it is for me one of the things that's a massive pain in the ass to go train regularly. I've got myself set up in a situation now where I have been training them weekly. I've trained them more in the past 3 months than I did in the first 4 years of my strongman career. So I think I could put up a pretty good time. That being said, we've seen some really strange things happen on Atlas Stones, the most basic being 𝐷𝐴, and the most full-on being what happened with Evan and Tom a few years back with the Stones going everywhere. But just to piggyback off what Daz said, he mentions me, Evan, Tom, and Matt Ragg, but didn't mention Tristan Ho at his first Giants Live, and he's really, really solid at World's Strongest Man. And there is something about your first Giants Live where the adrenaline is just on a level that is not comparable to any other show. And so he's going to be experiencing that. We also have 𝐬𝐨𝐬𝐿, who, if he's back in shape, you think about these events, deadlift for reps, he's unbelievable with a suit on. His Conan's wheel is phenomenal, probably a half a step behind Pavlo. His stones have been okay, but I saw him load a 220 stone with virtually no effort last week. And so, those guys could get in the mix as well. I think with such a deep field, I actually take more comfort in that, because we then know if you put in an incredible performance, you're going to get rewarded. Where if it's sort of a substandard field. You got a couple of guys who are going to win. Well, if you put in an okay performance to come second, you only get 1 point on the guy in front of you. Or if you've got a stacked field, a great performance could be a 3-4 point gap. So I think the really interesting thing this time around is, even if you have a 5 point gap going into stones, you shouldn't be that comfortable, maybe, unless you're Tom.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But even then, you need the guys to the positions to fall in the way you want them to. But Evan, we were chatting on the way up here. You said to me that you thought it would be pretty tight between you and Mitchell and the other guys. Yeah. You thought your stones, you could just about better most in there. You got a great grip, you know that. But you were worried about how many points Mitchell might grab on you in the axle, for example, where he's almost certain, assuming all things go to plan, to win that one. So tell me, how do you see yourself clawing back the points to take the victory and hold on to the title?
Yeah, I don't think it's based on the World's Strongest Man performance and then obviously training videos and everything like that. I don't think it's any kind of secret that Mitch is probably the favorite to win the axle clean and press. I mean, his technique in a very short period of time has gotten significantly better. He's incredibly explosive, and he's obviously, again, he's just the one to watch for that. So just being realistic, I'm going to have to make up points in other areas of the competition in order to kind of counteract his effectiveness with the axle. And side note, genuinely, just by the way that training has been going, I think you're going to get the record. I genuinely do. And genuinely mean that. Your training has just been amazing. It's consistently getting better and better.
Are you having a moment? It's going to be a moment now.
We're going to make out in a second.
You can guess if you want. But that being said, there's also so many guys in this competition. Last year, we had one of the best lineups in Giants Live history at this competition, and somehow we've managed to step up from that. So now we have the top 5 in the world. We've got multiple different World's Strongest Man winners. We've got pretty much everybody is stacked in their own individual way. So this is going to be a pretty good determination of who is the strongest.
Do we think because 𝐦𝐨𝐽 hasn't performed, of his own admission, he's not been on form for a few shows. And obviously, let's remember before that he was winning a lot of shows. Do you think people might have forgotten about him a bit? Because I've spoke to him today and he said he's back on good form again. So even I didn't talk about him then. And it's like
he's a WSM winner, right?
Yeah,
you're the strongest man.
Have we sort of looked over 𝐦𝐨𝐽 a little bit?
Sort of. I think with 𝐦𝐨𝐽, if we're just being objective about it and say he is back at his best, there were a couple of holes still when he was at his best. Where I think if you look at someone like Tom, myself, Evan physically really has very few holes. I think 𝐬𝐚𝐧𝐭 on something like the wrecking ball hold, even at his best, would he have been one of the best at that event? The axle clean and press, even at his best, would he be one of the best at that event? And I think not writing him off, because I think you could take huge points in the other events I mentioned. I just think it's going to be a lot to try to claw back, unless he's just progressed in some magnificent way in the past few months.
So where do we see Tristan Ho in this lineup then?
I mean, is he a fluke? I know you can't fluke strongman. How can you go out there, a world's strongest man, and rep out the way he did on 800 pounds, Well, but it was just a shock for everybody. I guess a bit like what you did.
Going by world's strongest man, we've got the similar events here.
Yeah. But there's also the factor of, like Mitch said earlier, is your first Giants Live. He's not going to really know how to take that. I know Tristan's been doing strongman for a while now, but Giants Live is a completely different animal to any other competition, because there's atmosphere, there's the pace setting that Giants Live has, where you're banging out all 5 events in one night in a relatively short amount of time. It's really going to come down to whether some of that stuff could affect him negatively, and if he's able to adapt to the new competition environment.
It could affect him positively.
It could also, yeah.
Let's think about, Evan is the most successful Giants Live competitor that's active right now, and I think a large part of that, and I mean, admittedly, why it doesn't translate over to some of the longer shows, is because it's such a if you get hyped to the max, you can hold that for Giants Live. Yeah. And it's almost like the attitude of getting really hyped and really excited is helpful in these shows. That's something that I struggle with. I don't really get up like that, and I need to work on that, and I have tried to work on that. But Tristan is like the most calm demeanored, quiet, sort of chilled out dude. I think it does him a lot of favors in long shows, but I don't think it's going to do him favors at Giants Live. And I think someone like Evan, who could step it up another level, it's going to be hard to keep it up without trying to find that extra gear.
I mean, I just have to go back to the axle press again, because I find it, in many ways, Mitch, you're already starting to become a candidate as a GOAT. I mean, you've just hoovered all the titles up in the last couple of years. People talked about Hapthor's dominant year back in 2018-19 kind of period. But, you've almost had a 2-year dominance. And I think it would be fascinating to see you suddenly become a huge presser and get records as well. Because that's the one thing GOATs get, isn't it? Is they get records. Michael Jordan gets all the, the 3-point records, the scoring records, and it's great winning titles, of course. But do you actually see yourself, going and doing this, and maybe even going and doing the log press? What's made the switch for you to become a presser?
Yeah, well, it's funny thinking back to when I got to Strongman, World's Strongest Man. I was a 475-kilo deadlifter, and the story was, can he do anything else? And now I'm in with a good chance of breaking a press world record. Of course, I'm using split jerk rather than traditional strict press. That being said,
cheater.
Push press.
Sorry.
Push press, I wouldn't be that far off. I might be 10 kilos down of what I can do split jerk. But I think it's the thing missing from my resume is any sort of big record, because I have Dinny Stone records, a couple of them, but it's not something that everyone has the opportunity to try regularly, where an axle clean and press, I could do 218 and someone in the gym tomorrow could go give it a crack at whatever they could do. And I think that would be really meaningful for me. But in terms of the whole GOAT conversation, I'm not even close. I've not been around the sport near long enough to be in that sort of consideration. If you're talking about GOAT in the first 2 years, I think that would be me. But I don't think that holds a lot of water. I don't think that really matters all that much.
Okay, so you give yourself super rookie.
I remember conversations not that long ago, like within the last year and a half, 2 years, where people have gone, yeah, he's got a great back, he's fast, he can deadlift, but his press isn't up there with the rest of that. Yeah. And now where we are, he's going for a world record. And that seemed like, to me, it seemed like about a year ago we were talking like that.
Yep.
So, sky's the limit with you, I think, with that.
You just can't ignore that. I haven't been in the sport that long, and neither has Evan. But I'm talking like really committing myself to strongman 4.5 years. And you see some guys who take 10 years to hit to their peak and what they can really get to. I think if I can stay healthy over the long term, is the log out of question? No. Is the deadlift out of question? No. Is the axle out of question? Absolutely not. So I think it'll be an exciting few years to come. That's for sure.
Just to pick up another couple of names tomorrow, 𝐷𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, of course, and Matt Ragg. I mean, how do you see these two fellas doing here?
They both have really, really good events in this. I mean, we all know that Pavlo is amazing at the Conan's wheel. We've also seen him doing his split jerking with axle, barbell, everything like that. His explosiveness and his technique with his Olympic lifting background, it's going to guarantee at least a 200-kilo overhead press tomorrow, at least. And if he comes in on form, head straight, and body is healthy, I can see him really giving the top 2, top 3 guys in the axle a push. And then Matt Ragg, I mean, it's definitely not a secret that his deadlifting is it's something
impressive
to be admired, to say the least, because he hasn't lost a single deadlift for reps event yet.
Can he beat you in that one, do you think? Will you go all out in that one? That's
the only time he's lost is
he has
World's group, my group first year.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But if I've gone head to head with him a fair number of times. In Glasgow last year, after I made a mistake on the sandbag in event 1, I was sort of giving it 80% and saving myself for the Rogue Invitation, which was the week after. We did deadlift for reps at Worlds this year. I had to go over under with straps and couldn't even hold on to the bar. And so I think that's a pretty poor assessment. I personally, I see us as relatively equal on deadlift for reps, all things being considered, and tomorrow we'll find that out. Since it's so early in the contest, there's no way that you're going to be enough points ahead that you just say, don't worry about Matt Ragg. So you'll see a full effort on deadlifts tomorrow, and I think that'll give you a really good indication of who's really going to come out on top. But in this field, between myself and Matt, Novikov, if he's on form, has done 7 on this setup before. Evan's deadlift is always improving. And then we've got Tom, who can pull out a big number. Tristan Ho pulled out 7 at World's Strongest Man. I
mean, the record on this is still 8, which is actually Martin's.
Yeah.
And it was in Manchester. I don't know what year it was. It was a good few years ago. Martin's Lissis. So it's still 8 on this particular piece of apparatus.
Let's say the axle doesn't take too much out of me, and sometimes my back gets pinchy after. I know right now I could do more than 8.
Wow. Well, I actually said to the guys, I think that could go. Not specifically just you, but there's a few people that will have a good go at getting 9.
Yeah, but you know what? Last year, I think 5 reps here came top 3 in the event.
Yeah, that was me, and I got third in that.
Yeah, I think 5 reps this year is going to be sitting you mid-low pack based on the field.
Yeah. So about Big Tom then. Let's have a chat about Big Tom. I mean, he could definitely axle press. He shouldn't be able to axle press what he can do, but he. What do you think he could be worth? I mean, who knows? Depends how his training.
Well, it's his
right?
best press, I think. It's safe to say it is his best press.
I mean, this is a man who's won log at World's Strongest Man final. You know, he's a heck of a presser for such a tall man.
I think Tom will definitely get the 205.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
And then maybe be up there.
Tom is he's one of those guys that he's the epitome of if he puts his mind to it and he wants it, he could probably do it.
Yep.
Yeah, well said.
But he's in the past shown that Worlds is his thing and that's what he wants to focus on and that's his priority. So you just don't know what kind of shape is he going to turn up in. If he turns up in World's Strongest Man shape, he did 210 at Worlds. So 218 is not crazy out of the question. No. But are you putting the same focus? And there's so many variables that go into that. And I think it's so easy for people to give you shit because you're not at 100% full form every time. But they don't understand you're never better than you were at World's Strongest Man if you've done things correctly in this sport.
So obviously World's Strongest Man having happened, therefore, in May, you think it's almost impossible for him to hold that kind of form then?
I wouldn't say impossible. It's possible, but I've won World's Strongest Man, and do you have the motivation to continue to train at the same level? You might, but you have so many other obligations that come about that you're probably not able to put the same focus and attention on it.
What do you see these events for Tom then, you guys? Like, is this a good set of events? Obviously, we know that he's the best in stones. No one can argue that. But, I mean, Conan's Wheel, Wrecking Ball Hold, where do you see Tom in that?
He performed pretty damn well in all of those in the World's Strongest Man final, so I can't put him out of top 3 in almost any of these. The only real one that's really going to be the tell of whether or not he walks with the show or whether we're going to sneak in is the Wrecking Ball Hold.
Yeah.
To my recollection, I haven't seen him do this event yet. Wrecking Ball Hold is very different from any of the other grips that we do with the Denny Stones or the Hercules Hold. It's a completely different event. It's completely
people
different.
think it's grip.
It's not
until
grip.
you get hold of it. And
it's not.
You
grip.
realize it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not grip. It's a hurt event.
I will say I've seen the only training video I've seen of Tom is him doing a 180 axle maybe a week and a half ago, and it looked pretty uncomfortable.
Really?
But the funny thing about Tom is he can make 180 look very uncomfortable and make 205 look very easy.
Yep.
See, you never really know. I mean, I remember back to Worlds when I won in 2023, dumbbell, 100 kilos, he nearly missed it. It was terrible. And then he hit it on his second attempt, and somehow he got better as the weight goes heavier. So he's a tough guy to read. But, I think Wrecking Ball is a big question because him and I were in the same situation in 2022 when we saw Wrecking Ball for the first time, where all we had to do was pick it up and put it down to win our group at Worlds. Otherwise, we've just watched, and you peel what you can, but there's no doubt that someone like Evan has an advantage when he's done it once before? Twice?
Twice now.
Worlds and,
Oh, no, Worlds 3 times.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so listen, we're going to have to wrap this up now because we have the show tomorrow. We all have to go to bed. Just a quick thought then, Daz. I'm not going to ask these two. Give us your top 3.
What were these two saying? Well, I think just about everybody would say, in no order, I'm not going to say that, but would say Evan, Tom and Mitch. Like I think half the planet would say that. But my outsiders that could disturb it will be Matt Ragg, and I think 𝐦𝐨𝐴, and if I think 𝐦𝐴's got good, he's disagreeing with me, but I think 𝐦𝐴's got really good events, and also depending on what Novikov we get, they're going to be your 4th and 5th places.
Okay, for you fellas, how about who's going to win the first event? Max Axel? Deadlift?
Mir Rag.
Yeah, him or Rag.
Him or Rag, okay. Wrecking Ball Hold?
Me.
Probably.
I think Eddie Williams or you, I would say, for Wrecking Ball Hold.
And then
Stones, that's going to be interesting to watch him do that. Yeah.
Big Tom on the Stones.
No, I'm going to beat him on Stones this year.
Who's going to win in Stones between you two, out of interest? Because obviously you're vastly improved.
Well, you got to go on history. You got to go on history and shows. And if we're just saying what's most likely, it's most likely that Evan wins Stones. But is it completely out of the question that I beat him? No. You'd be a fool to say that. So,
well, you've also beaten me on Stones in Worlds in 23.
I'm not sure I like you two being so nice to each other all the time. I'm not used to it. You two are like It's like some bromance going on.
Oh, wait until the camera goes off.
After what you said before the camera went on. Right, that's it, guys. See you tomorrow night. Don't forget officialstrongman.com to watch all the action. It's 5 p.m. in the UK is when it starts. That's midday New York time, and even earlier if you're in LA or somewhere else. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed.